morning, it's day 34 of our Lent readings for 2021. The last for this week. Tomorrow it's Palm Sunday, and that means that next week will be our last week of readings. So we finish this week with the book of Nahum. Now, little is known of Nahum. All we do know is what we can glean from his own writing. It says he's from Elkosh. We don't really know where Elkosh is. There is a place in northern Israel called Elkosh now, but that was founded much more recently and may not be the correct location. In his message he records the fall of Thebes to the Assyrians, and he prophesies the fall of Nineveh, the capital of Assyria. So if it's set between that time, that means he's a contemporary of people like Jeremiah. And his message was not for Israel but for Assyria, in the same way as Jonah was. You might remember a few days ago how Jonah reluctantly went to Assyria and preached. They heard, repented. God withdrew his wrath to the disappointment of Jonah himself. It seems that Nineveh didn't change their ways for long. They went back to their old ways. And now Nahum is saying God's judgment is coming and you will be destroyed. Nahum's name translates as comfort through vengeance, and that's a difficult name for many people to deal with. How do we understand that name in relation to someone who speaks on behalf of God? Well, maybe we'll look at that a little bit in a moment once we've read from the book. So let's read from the first verse of the first chapter and Nahum's description of God and his message for Assyria. A prophecy concerning Nineveh. The book of the vision of Nahum the Elkoshite. The Lord is a jealous and avenging God. The Lord takes vengeance and is filled with wrath. The Lord takes vengeance on his foes and vents his anger against his enemies. The Lord is slow to anger, but great in power. The Lord will not leave the guilty unpunished. His way is in the whirlwind and the storm, and clouds are the dust of his feet. He rebukes the sea and it dries up. He makes all the rivers run dry. Bashan and Carmel wither, and the blossoms of Lebanon fade. The mountains quake before him, and the hills melt away. The earth trembles at his presence, the world and all who live in it. Who can withstand his indignation? Who can endure his fierce anger? His wrath is poured out like fire. The rocks are shattered before him. The Lord is good, a refuge in times of trouble. He cares for those who trust in him. But with an overwhelming flood he will make an end of Nineveh. He will pursue his foes into the realm of darkness. Whatever they plot against the Lord, he will bring to an end. Trouble will not come a second time. They will be entangled amongst thorns, and drunk from their wine. They will be consumed like dry stubble. From you, Nineveh, has come one forth, who plots evil against the Lord and devises wicked plans. This is what the Lord says. Although they have allies and are numerous, they will be destroyed and pass away. Although I have afflicted you, Judah, I will afflict you no more. Now I will break their yoke from your neck and tear your shackles away. The Lord will not leave the guilty unpunished. Maybe that's the context that you have to understand the message of Nahum. And think about Assyria for a moment. If you've ever been to the British Museum, they have a large Assyria display focused on Nineveh, and a lot of carvings, stone carvings from Nineveh that tell of their battles. In one of them you see a large pile of severed heads. If you look at the siege of Lachish, you see how when that town was on siege, the Assyrians stuck men on poles, speared through them outside the city gates as a warning to those inside. If you look at the relief of Koshabad, you see how there's mutilated bodies and a chariot riding over the top of them. The Assyrians were a very cruel people, and God's judgment has come upon them, because God will not leave the guilty unpunished. When we try to understand this, and understand Nahum's name of comfort through vengeance, we need to hold on to what we know to be true about the Lord's character. He is merciful as well as just. And we see that in the cross as we approach Easter. If God was merciful but unjust, then he could just let us off. If God was just and not merciful, we would all be condemned. But God is both merciful and just, so that he finds a way that we can be set free, but atonement can still be paid. That's the message of the cross. And it's in that context of knowing that God is merciful and just that we need to consider books like Nahum. Until next time, have a blessed